Every breath you take, you break. Every step you take, I'll be watching you.
Why will the police never reunite again? What happened in 1984 that changed everything? And what do 2025 court documents reveal about the shocking truth behind their breakup? You think you know the police. 3 guys from London who made reggae-punk cool and gave us Every Breath You Take. But here's what nobody talks about. After selling 75 million records and winning 6 Grammys, their silence tells a bigger story than any comeback ever could. 3 mysteries explain why these legends chose silence over success. The member replacement that created magic, the recording sessions that turned toxic, and the $2 million secret that's dividing brothers right now in 2025. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the biggest rock band in the world chose silence over success. Picture this. It's 1976, and Stewart Copeland is watching a jazz-funk gig in Newcastle when he spots this blonde guy playing bass. The guy's stage name? Sting. Copeland convinces him to move to London, and boom, they start jamming in dingy punk clubs. But here's the thing, they weren't a trio yet. Their first guitarist was this guy named Henry Padovani. Nice enough, but something was missing. The magic wasn't there. Then one night at the Marquee Club, Andy Summers shows up. He's already 35, way older than the other 2. But when he plugs in his guitar, everything clicks. Padovani's out, Summers is in, and suddenly they're not just another punk band. They're something completely new. Their first real hit? Roxanne, about a prostitute. Radio stations hated it at first, but fans couldn't stop requesting it. Soon they're cramming into a van, touring across America, playing dive bars and building something legendary one show at a time. Their breakthrough was just getting started.
Waiting for tomorrow.
Let me take you through their rocket ship to the top. 1978. Outlando's D'Amour drops with Roxanne, and suddenly everyone's trying to figure out what reggae-punk even means. 1979. Reggatta de Blanc wins their first Grammy. Not bad for 3 guys who met by accident. But what made them special, they weren't just copying reggae or punk. They were blending it with jazz, funk, even world music. Sting brought the poetry. Summers brought these haunting guitar sounds. And Copeland, he made drums sound like a whole orchestra. By 1983, Synchronicity hits #1 on both sides of the Atlantic. Every Breath You Take becomes this massive wedding song, even though it's basically about stalking someone. The irony was lost on most people. Picture Shea Stadium, 1983. Sting later called it their Everest moment. 60,000 people singing along to songs these 3 guys wrote in cramped studio spaces. They'd conquer the world. If you dance to Every Breath You Take at your wedding, you're not alone. That song has 8 billion streams on Spotify alone. Behind those stadium lights, though, something was shifting. With the police, success changed everything. From the beginning, Sting wrote most of the songs. Fair enough, the guy's a natural poet. But as they got bigger, something shifted. Summers would bring in these incredible guitar ideas. Copeland had these complex rhythms, but more and more, Sting would just reject them. Band meetings became arguments. Studio sessions turned into fights. They were creating the situation where 2 incredibly talented musicians felt like hired help instead of bandmates. Copeland later admitted they started side projects to feel creative again. Basically, they were so frustrated they needed other outlets just to make music they actually enjoyed. While they fought behind the scenes, they recorded albums quickly under pressure. The tension was actually making their music more intense, more urgent, but it was also making them miserable. Andy Summers came up with some of the most recognizable guitar riffs in rock history, but barely got credit. Copeland's drumming was revolutionary, but his songwriting got pushed aside. Everything came to a head during Synchronicity.
We have to shout above the din of our Rice Krispies.
Synchronicity, their masterpiece. Also, nearly their deathbed. What really happened in those recording sessions? And this comes straight from the band members themselves. They couldn't even be in the same room anymore. Three guys who used to be best friends, now recording their parts separately because being together was too toxic. Imagine that. Your biggest album, the one that's going to make you global superstars, and you can't even look at each other. Sting later said trying to explain why a song was bad to them was like telling someone their girlfriend is ugly. The creative process had become personal attacks. Stewart Copeland described the atmosphere as World War III. Andy Summers felt completely shut out of the songwriting process he'd helped build. By the end of 1984, after 105 shows promoting Synchronicity, Sting made a decision. He was done, not taking a break. Done. They tried to reunite in 1986 for an Amnesty International concert. Lasted about 5 minutes before the fighting started again. Plans for a new album? Put on ice immediately. Even when they were at war, something connected them. The music was bigger than their egos.
Many miles away.
So what happened next? Sting went full jazz artist. The Dream of the Blue Turtles in 1985 showed everyone he wasn't just a guy from that reggae band. He started acting. You might remember him in Dune, and built this solo career that's still going strong today. In 2022, he sold his entire song catalog for $300 million. Not bad for someone who started as a school teacher. Stewart Copeland became this film scoring genius. Wall Street in 1987 got him a Golden Globe nomination, but he also scored the Spyro video game series. Those dragon games your kids played? That's Stewart Copeland making magic. He's won 6 Grammys total now, including one in 2023 for Best Immersive Audio. Andy Summers? The guy just wouldn't stop creating. 14 solo albums from 1986 to 2021. He wrote a memoir called One Train Later that became the #1 music book in the UK, then turned it into a documentary. Right now in 2025, he's touring again, combining his guitar work with photography exhibitions. Each found what Sting called a broader palette beyond the band. But fans never stopped hoping for a reunion.
Every night you stay, I'll be watching you.
23 years later, the announcement everyone had been waiting for. The Police were reuniting for a world tour. The anticipation was insane. This wasn't just another nostalgic cash grab. This was the 3rd highest grossing tour in history. 151 shows across 5 continents. They proved they could still pack stadiums and that the chemistry was still there. The final show at Madison Square Garden, they ended with Next to You, the same song that started their journey. Stewart Copeland said they were like siblings, deeply bonded despite everything. But that was it. One tour, done. Why there will never be another reunion. Straight from Sting himself. A band is like a teenage gang. Who wants to be in that when you're nearly 70? It doesn't allow you to evolve. They're 73 to 82 years old now. They've all evolved as artists. Going backwards? Not happening. Sting was definitive in 2023. Once. Doing it again would be pointless. Stewart Copeland jokes there's maybe a 1% chance. But even he admits they're past that point. Which brings us to 2025, and a story that's happening right now. Andy Summers and Stewart Copeland are suing Sting for over $2 million. Not because they hate each other, because of digital royalties. Back in 1977, they agreed Sting would get the biggest share of publishing money since he wrote most songs. Fair enough, but that agreement has been modified 3 times, 1981, 1997, and 2016, as music technology changed. Now with streaming bringing in billions. Every Breath You Take alone has 2.8 billion plays. Summers and Copeland say they're not getting their fair share of digital royalties. Sting's lawyers call it an illegitimate attempt to reinterpret their 2016 agreement. But even in this legal dispute, their music keeps uniting generations. The songs they created together are bigger than any courtroom drama. Copeland recently said they still email daft clips to each other. The brotherhood survives, even when the business gets complicated. Fast forward to today. These guys are still everywhere online. Stewart Copeland has a YouTube channel with 111,000 subscribers, and nearly 16 million views. He's active on Twitter as at Copeland Music, sharing police memories and his new projects. Andy Summers just announced 2025 tour dates, combining live guitar with photography exhibitions. The man's 82 and still innovating. Sting? Still touring. Still evolving his sound. Still proving that great artists never really retire. Together, the Police have 36 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Every Breath You Take was BMI's most performed song in 2019. Their influence shows up everywhere, from Rush citing them as inspiration to countless cover versions at wedding receptions. They introduced reggae to mainstream rock and proved that smart lyrics could work with infectious rhythms. Not bad for three guys who couldn't stand being in the same room. Their silence speaks louder than any comeback ever could. 3 different paths, one incredible legacy. Sting the jazz poet, Summers the Renaissance artist, Copeland the sonic explorer. Going backwards would feel like betraying everything they've learned. They ended at the perfect moment. Their myth stays intact. No disappointing comeback albums, no half-empty arenas, no sad attempts to recapture lightning in a bottle. Instead, we get something better. 3 artists who learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is know when to stop. Which Police song defined your youth? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. What other band breakups do you think need the truth revealed? Let me know and I might cover them next. And if this story surprised you, hit that subscribe button. We're diving deep into the real stories behind the music legends you think you know. Brothers by choice, legend by accident, eternal by design. That's their story.